Yes, perfect. Could you please?
Can you see the slides change?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I request Arya, please start with invocation mantra. Then we will go forward.
So namaste and namaste to everybody. You should have to mute your mic, please. It's an echo. Thank you. So namaste to everybody and a very, very hearty and warm welcome to all our participants who have joined us for this ninth workshop on IKS-TKDL on traditional knowledge and intellectual property and people's rights. So these have been some very successful programs that we've been doing in collaboration with TKDL CSIR and with IKS division. And it gives us a great pleasure to be able to offer you these special understandings or these awareness, creating awareness about the laws that are involved in the study and spread of IKS as we move ahead. So I would like to start this with an invocation and then I will hand it over to Piyush ji. Om Shanno Mitra Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnururukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Bahu dhanyawad Arya. Pranam to all the participants. So we'll before go to SAR's session, we'd like to inform some important guidelines regarding this workshop. Every day we'll have 1.5 hour session, 50 minutes lecture. It will be followed by 10-minute assessment. Then we'll go forward to question Q&A session, 30 minutes. So from today to Friday, we'll have 5 lectures. Unfortunately, tomorrow, Madam Saptagiri Madam will not take tomorrow's session. She will take on Friday. So we'll go to our next session, Anil session tomorrow. And after 2 days of Saturday and Sunday, we'll have our final assessment session on Monday with a concluding session by our Madam Satyagiri Madam. So that's the main structure of our workshop. Every day we'll share our PPTs and recordings along with assessment link. You can complete your assessment. Then after 1 week, 22nd and 23rd, we'll have 2 interactive sessions. There you can ask your doubts and questions. We'll also listen your voice and try to moderate and for the betterment of our next workshop. So Pranam once again. So we'll listen from our national coordinator, IKS division, Professor Murthy sir. So he will be talking about Indian knowledge systems, the relevance and importance in a changing world. Over to you, sir. Pranam, please start your session. We'll listen.
Sure. Namaste everyone. Matrubhyo namaha. Pitrubhyo namaha.
Professor Murthy has got muted, I guess. Anil.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, now we
can
can
you,
hear
sir.
you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I think, okay, sure. So, namaste everyone. Today I will be talking to you all about the Indian knowledge systems, the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara and its relevance and its importance in the context of the changing world, primarily because one of the things that we are talking about as the Bharat progresses and sheds its vestiges of colonialism, and we want to decolonize of all our systems. One of the big things that we need to decolonize first is to decolonize our Indian mind, because of various issues and challenges that our country and civilization has faced, especially because of the Macaulay education system. The minds of Bharatiyas have been colonized. That was the biggest thing that they had done. And so to undo that damage, and then if we are going to talk about a Vikasit Bharat, for that, we have to talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat. And if we have to talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, the primary ingredient that is necessary for all of these is a decolonized mind, that is a Bauddhik Atmanirbharta. Intellectual freedom is something that we need to really achieve. And for that, the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara plays a huge role as the first step for that kind of a decolonization of the Indian mind. And why should you really listen to this talk? I'll just uh, say that, I mean, I want to touch upon a few things today. One is, what is IKS? Because there are a lot of versions of what is IKS going around, and I want to talk about it from our perspective in the IKS division. And then talk to you all about why is it relevant and how should we teach and how will it help our students, our nation and the world, and then what does IKS division do. So these are few of the things that I want to talk to you about. But then before I get into all of these things, I want to talk about the way that we approach Bharatiya Jnana Parampara or IKS. What is the way that we'll approach these? Again, coming from the Malwa region, I'm reminded of Mahakavi Kalidasa, who lived there in Ujjaini, and in Malakagnimitram he says, Puranamityeva nasadhu sarvam nachapi kavyam navamityavadhyam santah pariksham jatarad bhajante mudha parapratyayine buddhi. He says, just because
बात
something
में
is
रुपए
old,
नहीं है.
hello, just because something is old, it does not become praiseworthy. Puranamityeva nasadhu sarvam. Just because something is new, it should not be discarded. Nachapi kavyam navamityavadyam. He says, Santah parikshant yatarat bhajante. The wise praise something only after looking at closely, examining something, and then they will talk about merits and demerits, then they will praise this anything. Whereas the fools, Mudaha, will be led by the opinions of others. Parapratyayinihi buddhihi. It is with that kind of an approach that we'll look into IKS, the Indian knowledge systems. And then we are not going to be talking about IKS just because it is old. We're not going to talk about it just because it is ours. We are going to talk about it because it is meritorious. There is relevance in it. That is the way that we will approach. We'll approach it with a critical reverence towards our traditions and paramparas. And when we talk about it, when you see, even before we get into the IKS, we see that the world today is facing existential challenges. We are talking about Vikasit Bharat by 2047. But then at the same time, we'll also be facing a world with 10 billion people. Already the natural resources like fresh water, agriculture land, arable land, and minerals, access to minerals, all of those things are really reducing, shrinking. And this has been the trend. One of the first comprehensive studies that had documented this was the 1972's Limits to Growth Club of Rome study called Limits to Growth. And a 40-year update of that had been done in 2012 showed that the trends of using natural resources unsustainably has only reinforced, and it has gone even worse from what it was in 1972. And so we are talking about a world where there are limits to growth, and we are talking about a world with shrinking natural resources. So these are the challenges that we are going to face. How do we feed these 10 billion people? How are we going to clothe them? How are we going to provide a life of dignity to people, and also ensure at the same time that we are living harmoniously with the world? We are protecting the biodiversity, protecting the plants, protecting the animals, protecting the insects, protecting the microbes, protecting the entire earth as our own, because there is no plan B for us. This is the only planet we have got. How are we going to take care of this? And as a Native American saying says, Chief Seattle said,
Professor Murthy, you got muted, I believe.
Muted, and we lost the presentation also.
Yes.
Yes.
I think somebody is muting me from somewhere else. I'm not sure what is happening there.
Anil,
I
can
can't
you
even
inform
share.
Deepak?
I think somebody has taken away the rights of the sharing, so I'm not able to share now.
Anil?
I'm just checking.
All right.
So can somebody give me the this thing to share? Not able to share the screen. Anyway, I can speak. So the way that we are trying to address, am I audible at least?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir, you are audible.
the way that we are trying to solve these disciplinary challenges is that we are trying to approach it in existential challenges as we are approaching through our disciplinary silos. Economists will talk about reforming the economic system, whereas biologists will talk about protecting the biodiversity. Agriculturalists will talk about producing more food. Somebody will talk about producing more fiber. And all of these things are happening like that. Some environmental activists will talk about protecting coral reef, or somebody will say, I mean, you get the drift of how these things are. And then sometimes these disciplinary silos also work at cross purposes. So what happens is you may be trying to do one thing, but then that may be having a bad impact on the overall environment as well. So there is all these kind of things that we are trying to do. I mean, so the existential challenges require systemic approaches. Yes, there is no PPT, and I will share it once I get the this thing. Have this thing to share, but until then, I will just speak. So yeah, so then, I mean, the issue is that, first of all, whenever we think about solutions, we really need to think about ways in which we can produce these solutions which first do no harm. They should not cause more problems than the kind of things that we already have. And so how do you really solve these kind of existential problems? When you really think about it, the way that we need to think about it is that we need to have a different mindset to solve the problems. For example, the kind of mindset that has led to this kind of a huge increase in the consumerism and all of those things, the problems that are as a resultant of that mindset cannot be solved by the same mindset. This is what even Einstein says, that if you try to repeat the same thing and expect different results, it's madness. So if you are going to use the same mindset to solve the problems which were created because of that mindset, it's not going to work. And this is where the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, the Indian knowledge systems, comes into the picture. So when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, people will ask, is Indian knowledge system something, why should we talk about the main objection that people will have is knowledge is knowledge. Knowledge systems are knowledge systems. Why should you have Indian knowledge systems, Chinese knowledge systems, Greek Greek knowledge systems, or Western knowledge systems, or whatever? Why should you qualify knowledge system? This is a question that most of us will be asking. When you think about it, and then they will say, knowledge is knowledge, 2 plus 2 is 4. How is it going to be different? And then what does it make? What is so unique about it that it becomes Indian? So 2 plus 2 should be 4, whether you talk about it in Africa, America, or any place else. So this is where we need to think about what we are talking about is a knowledge system, not the simple knowledge. So when you talk about knowledge system, it's a comprehensive way that has triad of three things. It's a triad of three things, a triad of three elements. What are those three elements in the triad? The very first one is the vijnana, the practical experiences that a people had. And then the mental models, the jnana, is the mental models that people make based on these physical observations, or the vijnana very loosely. And then the outlook for the life that people
Professor Murthy,
yeah.
I have just checked with my IT team. They are asking you to retry sharing the presentation. They're saying they have not removed any
They
rights
just
or
made
anything.
me. Don't they, see? I think they have taken away the power to share, so that share button itself is disabled for me.
Oh, okay.
Can you please
Earlier it was
share the
enabled.
slide with me, sir, so that I can share?
Or maybe,
but
Professor Murthy, can you just log off and log in again? I'm sorry to bother you, but they are saying they have not removed any rights. So I'm not sure what happened. So if you could please log in and
I'll
log off
log
and
off
log
and
in.
again. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
See, I think they need to make me a co-host. They have put me as an attendee.
No, this is the MS Teams, right? So there is no host or anything, Professor Murthy. All of us are the same here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll log off now.
All right, all right.
Sir, slides are visible now.
Now they're visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right? Okay, sure. Okay, so the triad that I was talking about, the Vijnana, Jnana, and the Jivana Darshana, is to your as you can see to your left on the screen. So the Vijnana is basically the practical experiences that a civilization has, and the Jnana is the mental models, and then the Jivana Darshana is the philosophical outlook that comes out of it. So this triad is something that is very unique to every civilization. So this is what makes the knowledge systems unique to a particular civilization, because every civilizational people, they have their own inherent experiences which then gets translated into the jnana and the jivana darshan. Let me give you a very, very simple example. See, in Bharat, we would know that after summer, there is a rainy season that comes. After that, there is a period of little calm. I mean, there is sky is clear and things like that, and there's some kind of a pre-winter right now what we're experiencing. After this, we'll be experiencing a deep winter, and then there is a spring that comes out and all that. So let's say people of Bharat observed this over years, and then that is essentially the observation part is the vijnana, and from that they will form a mental model that, oh, there are 6 seasons here. Summer is followed by monsoon. Monsoon is followed by the Sharad Rutu, then followed by Hemanta, and then Shishira, which is winter, and then finally, then you have the Vasanta Rutu. So that's essentially how the seasons move. There are 6 seasons. And then the Jivana Darshana that we will have from that is that everything moves in a cycle. There is a cycle of 6 seasons. There is a cycle of life. There is a cycle of basically whether you see that in everything, the cycle of tide, cycle of sun and moon, all of these things move in cycles. So there is a kala, the time itself goes in a circular form. Therefore, there is a kala chakra. That is the kind of the jivana darshana that we will have here. Now, let's say somebody was growing up in Antarctica. For them, there will only be one season, really, cold season and 2 seasons, cold season and a light season. So cold, dark season and then a warm and light season. Each will last 6 months. So they will say for us, there are only 2 seasons, light and dark. You see how that is what the jnana will be. And then for them, the Jivana Darshana will be that the sun would go down, some bear is eating it or something like that, and then it comes out. These are the kind of myths that you will see. So this is the kind of the Jivana Darshana that we will also have. So the Vijnana, Jnana and Jivana Darshana are the product of the experiences of the people, which has been distilled into mental models, the jnana, and then the Jivana Darshana, the philosophy that comes out of it. This is what makes the Indian knowledge systems unique, because this experiences, this Jivana Darshana, the life philosophy is unique to Bharat. And this one is and then it flows back as well into the practice as well. So when we talk about this Jivana Darshana, it manifests in particular discipline as the drishti, the particular way of looking at things. And then this jnana, the knowledge, is transmitted through paramparas, whether it is through textual transmission, oral traditions, or artistic traditions, doesn't matter. But there is a continuous way of transmitting this knowledge. That is the jnana parampara. And this parampara, with that drishti, is for a prayojana or some utility. More specifically, laukika prayojana also. So there is a practical utility for all of this knowledge and this parampara. Otherwise, there is no point in keeping a parampara alive. There is some kind of a utility. That may be physical utility, there can be mental utility or things like that. So all of these things are essentially how these triad of jnana, jnana and jivana darshana manifest in each of the domains. Now let's see, why do we need to really think about this in so much detail, and then why do we need to invest in IKS? Because right now there is a paucity of genuine scholarship in this field. Because of that, there are all kinds of myths that go along, and then unscientific claims. All of these things are there. So somebody might say there is string theories mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, because in the 7th shloka of 7th chapter, Bhagavan says, Mattah parataram nasti kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. The sutra is translated as string, and then say, oh, sutra is there, so therefore this is string theory. And then on the other hand, there are people who will say Indian science is a myth, math is not rigorous, we did not have a concept of proof, we learned everything from Greeks, Babylonians, Persians, name it. Everybody taught us, we did not have anything indigenous in Bharat. Both of these positions, saying that everything was there in our Vedas and nothing was there in our Vedas, or nothing is there in our Indian science and math, both these positions are completely wrong. Therefore, it is important for us as academicians to take a very critical look at all of these things and then understand where there are genuine contributions, understand and be justifiably proud of it, and then see how they can solve current and emerging problems, and where the modern science and technology, all of that have input, embrace that also with equal this thing. Therefore, there is a critical need for the higher educational institutions in this country, scientific institutions in this country, to take this leadership in understanding and researching all this heritage, whether it is scientific heritage, technological heritage, artistic heritage, all of that of Bharat. And then fortunately, the new National Education Policy of 2019 places a great emphasis on this multidisciplinary and multilinguistic learning of technical subjects too. So when you think about that, in fact, NEP says that rich heritage of ancient and eternal Indian knowledge and thought has been a guiding light for this policy. And it mentions Bharati Jnana Parampara or Indian knowledge systems in multiple places, in a curricular integration, holistic and multidisciplinary education, in improving the quality of academic research, professional education, promotion of Indian languages, arts and culture. Everywhere it talks about it in various sections of the NEP. So now when we talk about parampara, there are three aspects to it again. So the very first one is the preservation of the knowledge, because parampara talks about if you have to transmit something, you have to preserve it. The very low level of preservation is preserving the manuscripts, preserving and digitizing the books, manuscripts, all of that stuff is at one level. Or artistic traditions, documenting them, that is just one step of that. But then, what is more important, it's perhaps most important there, is preserving the Bharatiya Drishti, the perspective, that Jivana Darshana. What is the core? Because that is the essence of what makes this knowledge system Indian. Because that is the part of the triad that is there at the center of it. So that preservation, when we talk about preservation, we should also preserve the Bharatiya Drishti. So what that means is we should know how is it that, let's say we talk about some manuscript has been digitized about environmentalism and talks about biodiversity or something. So we should also understand that is one thing, but we should also understand and preserve the way of thinking that actually is there in those texts. That means we have to study the text. That is what the preservation also means. And then it is not sufficient to study the text and then preserve the digital content in various forms. It is also important to transmit it, because a parampara is a continuous transmission of this knowledge from the past to the future in the present. And that means we have to, as important as it is to study these texts, it is equally important to transmit these texts and this knowledge and this drishti to the next generation. And that is where we have to adopt whatever the methodology or the technology is there, and that is something that will continuously evolve over times. So, for example, in Gurukulas, maybe 300-400 years ago, they used to sit under a tree and there used to be a guru who used to teach shishyas, and then that's how the things were. Now, today, I'm sitting here in Delhi giving a presentation on my computer in my office, and you're able to listen to this from your office or your home or wherever you are. And this is possible today. And so now we cannot insist that we all have to sit under a tree in Delhi. You all have to come to Delhi and sit under a tree, and I will only teach you that way. The methods and technologies have to be adapted to the times and with the technologies. So we'll have to adopt according to that. The transmission, the important thing is that it has to be transmitted properly. Preservation, transmission. Then the third important part of any living tradition or living parampara is that knowledge creation is continuous. There is no tradition that can call itself a living parampara if the knowledge creation is not there. So I cannot say just because or Shushruta Maharshi or Charaka Samhita, Charaka Maharshi have written those books, those are status texts. I'm not going to do any innovation. It will be always be only those two texts. That is not going to work. You have to always think about, in fact, even our Charaka Maharshi and Shushruta Maharshi, they will be telling in their texts that think of this as nothing but the opinions of a fellow student and go and innovate. This is what they will say. Ask you to explore more, create new knowledge, document it, and write your own shrutis. This is how the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara works. So we have to talk about new innovations, new knowledge creation in the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Therefore, when we talk about IKS, it is not history studies, and neither is it limited to the Vedas, Upanishads, and Puranas, or Bhagavad Gita, or even just Hindu studies. It is much more expansive than that. This is something that we need to understand when we talk about Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. And I've been talking a little bit more about the Bharatiya Drishti. So I want to emphasize a little bit on what is this Bharatiya Drishti I'm talking about. So there are some core elements of the Bharatiya Drishti, the perspective of how we look at things. For example, the three things that you can think about are the three levels of reality that we look at. So Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika, Adhyatmika way of looking at things. So looking at it in a physical way, mental plane, and then the spiritual plane. And then four goals of life, the Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, or the four ashramas based on the stage of life, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, and then embedded in a Kala Chakra, a cycle-based time with Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya, and cycles of Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, small cycles embedded in a larger cycle. So there are these life cycles, the daily cycles embedded in a monthly cycle, embedded in a yearly cycle, embedded in a cosmic cycles of thousands of years also. So how do these things work? These are all the essential elements of Bharatiya Drishti. So again, to think about this thing, so you can also think about how this Bharatiya Drishti can be thought about. So, for example, if you see the picture there on your screen, it talks about Onam. What makes Onam Onam? You know, Onam is a festival that we celebrate in Kerala and that region there, and Malabar region, Kerala region. So, what is it that makes Onam Onam? Is it the sadhya that they have, the food, the wonderful delicacies that we have, or is it the vilukku or the diya that they light up, or is it the Upendra's puja that they do of the Mahabali, or is it the snake boat race, or is it the Kathakali dancers and then cultural programs? What makes it basically Onam? For example, if I say that, okay, I could not, for whatever reason, I could not attend the snake boat race, but I could do maybe a few other things from this picture. Does that make, then should I say that, oh, it's not Onam because you have not gone to the snake boat race? Not like that. We all know that. So similarly, other things as well here. So if you think about it, I just want to emphasize this through an example, another example. Think about this picture there. So you are seeing a rope. Let's say we have put this rope in our next to our door in our room, wherever you are sitting. And you have put that rope there, so you know it is a rope. So now somebody is coming from outside and they mistake it for a snake. Somebody is coming from outside. They have looked at it. You have kept the rope, but somebody else is coming from outside, and that person looks at it and then says, oh, there is a snake. And then a reporter comes in and asks, can you describe what are you seeing there? So he says, oh, it's a poisonous snake. It's very, we should all be afraid of it. It's a cruel one because it's poisonous. It's a cruel snake and all of those things. Then if that same reporter comes to you and asks you, what is your response to this gentleman who is coming and then calling that thing, whatever is there, as a poisonous snake, dangerous snake? Then should we say, no, that is not a snake. It's a vegetarian snake. It's not a poisonous snake. It does not have any poison. Actually, it's not dangerous at all. You can play with it. Should that be our response? If you think about it, that should exactly be not our response. Because we are just addressing some of the manifestations of a fundamental misunderstanding of the rope as a snake. So we are talking about the surface things. So what our response should be is, it is not a snake at all. It is a rope. When you talk about it like that, because you know what you have seen, you have put there, then suddenly this thing about that being a poisonous snake, poisonous, something that will cause fear, something that is dangerous, all of those things will automatically drop off. Why is that important? Can you see the picture here on your screens? So this is a picture drawn by a French painter in 15th century in the book of Marco Polo's travels. So what do you see here? So you see perhaps some nuns dancing, and there is one nun standing on a pedestal holding some kind of a leaf, and there is another nun coming and giving her something in a box. And this nun standing on a pedestal has a black face. Everybody else has a white face, right? And this is based on Marco Polo, as you know, traveled all around the world and then was trying to put together a travelogue. So some rich man sponsored it. So he was putting together that travelogue, and they said, okay, let's put some pictures as well based on your description of what you saw. So he commissioned a French painter who painted this. This picture that is being shown here is, as per the French painter, is a painting of a temple in Malabar region of Kerala. Now think about this. Obviously, this nowhere resembles a temple. Neither the women there, they look more like nuns. And we don't know what that pedestal is, and then what is that woman holding, and all of these things, right? Now think about what is it that Marco Polo would have probably seen. He would have probably seen something like this in a temple. He described some women dancing in a holy place and offering something to some food stuff to a goddess in the temple, who was made of black face and with all the jewelry and things like that. And then she was holding a sugar, some kind of a plant, this thing, ikshu or sugar cane thing. So for a French painter who has never stepped out of France, he would have thought a holy place would be a church. And the women there in that time would be nuns. So he drew nuns and dancing nuns, a pedestal there, a goddess on a pedestal with a black face, because that was the way that the Murthy was constructed. And that Ikshudanda, or the sugarcane bow that Bhagavati has, is transformed to a frond, right? And then Sweets are basically, that's what you see there. This is the picture of what Marco Polo saw. Now, can you fault the painter for drawing something like this? Not really. Now, can you fault Marco Polo for saying things? Probably Marco Polo described it as it is. But then in the interpretation of the painter, he could only draw that because that was his limited experience. He did not have the Bharatiya Drishti, the Drishti of Marco Polo. So this is... So this is exactly why we need to be thinking about that Bharati Drishti, because this is not a simple theoretical problem. This fellow here, his name is James Stuart Mill. He wrote a book, a volume of 6 books, 6 volumes on the history of British India. And these books are currently used in many, many history courses in India as the reference material. And this gentleman, James Stuart Mill, never stepped in India. Now think about the implications of that. Without stepping in India, he wrote 6 volumes about what British India looked like. So he would have, think about the Rajju and the Sarpa, the snake and the rope. This is the problem. So now what makes Onam Onam? To understand that, you need to have the Drishti, Bharatiya Drishti, so that you can understand what makes Onam Onam. This is really the important thing of understanding that Drishti, so that we don't become the caricatures of our real selves. And the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is not reduced to some kind of a caricature like this. This is the real reason why we have to preserve the Drishti, the perspective, the Jivana Darshana, because if you strip off that, it will become a caricature and of the actual Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, and it will become something that is a mockery. So in order for us to understand and talk about Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, we have to inculcate the Bharatiya Drishti first. And that means to see things as the Bharatiyas saw. Therefore, this Bharatiya Drishti provides a unique perspective and is holistic, rigorous, and innovative in its approach. And because of that, I will try to give you some examples of this, starting with economics. So if you think about capitalism, it basically is about Shuddha Labha, pure profit. Only profit maximization is the motto. And unbridled capitalism will obviously lead to maximization of the profit. It will also lead to exploitation of the humans and nature, primarily because if you're not going to have if you're going to only have profit maximization, you will not really care about the status of the humans or the nature. It will be about maximizing and extracting the maximum profit, even at the cost of exploiting the humans and nature. And this will also lead to pseudo-democracies. And a response to that was Shunya Labha or communism, which said, okay, exploitation of humans is taking place, so we need to go away from this and then say we will negate the profit motive and then say there's no profit, no loss, everything is owned by the state and state will give you what is based on your necessity. Looks very appealing, but then that will very soon lead to stifling of innovation and entrepreneurship. This will also paradoxically lead to exploitation of humans and nature and will lead to dictatorships. We have seen this in North Korea, USSR, China, Cuba, so many other places. Both capitalism and communism are two extremes of the Labha. What is a Bharatiya way? You would have seen these words, Shubha Labha. Basically, the idea is Labha is very, very important. The profit motive is very, very important. You cannot negate it. At the same time, you also have to talk about Shubha, the welfare of everybody else. Shubha and Labha are essentially something that go together, and that is only possible in the framework of Dharma. Therefore, the Dharma acts as a check on the unbridled profit motive, but is also something that will prevent the negation of wealth creation and celebrate the entrepreneurship. So this is really the thing that we need to think about. And then the whole idea of consumption-based economics, when you talk about Shuddha Labha versus the Ananda-based economics based on the pursuit of happiness at a personal level will lead to very, very different types of economics and then social societies. Because if you are talking about a consumption-based economics, there's exploitation of nature. We talk about unlimited growth, and there will always be people with imbalances. Therefore, it will lead to societal discord. Whereas when we talk about the Ananda-based framework, we talk about thriving with the nature and a growth that meets needs of all, and then societal harmony. And even in healthcare, is disease-based treatment of disease-centric framework versus a pursuit of swasthya or preservation of the health-based framework will lead to very different types of frameworks and different outcomes as well. And even in the approaches themselves, you can have systemic approaches of Ayurveda versus reductionist approaches and a blend of these as well. And sometimes some of these are very useful. So the whole idea is to understand the approaches and the differences in the drishti so that we can solve the existential problems. And this is where that Bharatiya drishti comes in. And I want to talk to you about the multidisciplinary and how aspects of the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara or the Indian knowledge systems. So if you look at agriculture and trade, these are very important foundations of Indian society. And when we talk about that, there is confirmed evidence of agriculture. Even in India, it goes back to basically 10,000 years before present. And the pictures that you see are from Bhim-Bhetka, where you can see the village life, you can see the hunting, all of those things. You can see these kind of evolved, basically stages of agriculture, domestication, all of that stuff. In fact, if you look into the domestication stages, the very first one was the barley. And six-row naked barley was the first one. Then came wheat. That's what you will see even in our Vedas. You will talk about Yava and Goduma will be there in the Rig Veda, and then slowly the other crops will come later. And the second stage was basically the domestication of ragi, tuar dal, and chana dal, linseed, and cotton. These are the crops that we had domesticated in the second phase. Last comes the paddy. And so that was only about 4,000 years ago. There is confirmed archaeological evidence of cultivation. The collection of the rice may have gone back to few thousand more years before that. And you see the evidence for all of these things in our texts, starting from Vedas to all kinds of itihasas, all of these things. So the whole idea is there is a long history of domestication of crops in our Bharat. And this is an established as various kind of sciences. In fact, the importance of water in agriculture was recognized very, very early. In fact, the very first text that was written on agriculture is a Krushi Parashara that is about at least 2,500 years old. In that itself, they talk about Vrishtimula Krushi Sarva. So basically, they say that rainfall is the basis of agriculture. And then that importance of water was recognized very early, even in Shatapatha Brahmana of Shukla Yajurveda times. They will say Agnirve Dhumo Jayate Dhumat Abhrama Abhrat Vrushti. So fire creates the vapors, vapor creates clouds, and clouds give rain. And then rainfall was very interestingly considered to be Purva Chitti, or something that you actually can predict. And many rishis like Kashyapa, Parashara, Gautama, Vatsa, they're all very well known in the scriptures for their rainfall prediction methods. And the rainfall prediction methods that they discuss are both short-term, long-term, and basically even what we call as nowcasting. That means for next few hours. So there are all kinds of these things. In fact, one of the most interesting aspects of this kind of a weather prediction occurs in Brihat Samhita by Varaha Mihira, where he talks about Garbhottama. And this is something that is there even in Tamil Nadu today. So they actually predict the rainfall that happens 195 days later, more than 6 months later. Based on observations in Kartika Masa around November, they will predict the rainfall in July. And this is not basically based on the various observations of clouds around Kritika Nakshatra. And at that time in November, there is a jet stream that comes onto the Indian subcontinent, and that has some relationship to these predictions. So it is a correlation that they have done. And what that tells you is long observations, long-term observations of many, many hundreds of years, not tens of years, hundreds of years, sustained observations. And then that was essentially what had enabled them to predict these things. And then they also distinguish various types of clouds. In fact, even Meghadutam has all these kind of description of this clouds, Avarta, Samavarta, Pushkara, and Drona. So Meghadutam has one of these clouds that they mention. And Krishi Parashara, for example, the way they talk about using Panchanga methods to calculate the weather, rainfall. And for example, they will say take the Shaka year multiplied by 3, add 2 divided by 7, find the remainder, and based on that, you'll find the ruling Graha. And whatever Graha that is, whether it is Surya, Chandra, Mangala, Buddha, Brahaspati, Shukra, or Shani, remember all of these things are visible planets and stars. I mean, so planet is not Graha. Graha is something that is a celestial body that moves. That's all. So there, that basically, if you see this method, you may say, what kind of a nonsense is this? They're talking about Shaka year multiplied by 3, add 2, divided by 7, and they are going to say whether there is a scanty rainfall, heavy rainfall, good rains, satisfactory rainfall. What is this thing? Now, remember, if you look at carefully the operations that we are doing, taking the Shaka year, multiplying it by 3, adding 2, and dividing it by 7 and finding a remainder. So essentially, this is a modulo 7 operation.
Professor Murthy, you got muted, I believe. Please.
Kindly unmute, sir. You are not audible, sir.
Due to some network connectivity, there is a glitch. So sir is joining again. So please wait for some time, please.
Sir, kindly unmute, sir.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, sir. Your slides are visible and we can hear you also, sir.
Okay, there was a brief outage of internet. I don't know where I was, but I mean, I'm just going to say that. I mean, so I'll just start from the slide. I think hopefully it'll be good.
This was the only slide where I mean.
Okay, so the whole idea of this Krishi Parashara method is that we are talking about a modulo 7 operation which relates to the 7-year cycles in the monsoon. There are similar cycles of 5 years, 12 years, 60 years, 18 and a half years, 27 years, and all of those things are related to various things. For example, here you will see that there is a another method in Brihat Samhita which talks about various nakshatras on the full moon of Jyeshtha, and based on that they talk about various Drona rainfall method. Drona is nothing but about 6.4 rainfall centimeters of rainfall is one Drona. You can find this measurement in Chanakya's Arthashastra, where we talk about one Adhaka is equal to 1.6 centimeters of rainfall. So you can see how they have really looked into a various cycles of monsoon and then try to predict the correlate that with the rainfall. And then coming to a very different topic, we talk about that ahimsa paramo dharma is some kind of a very famous quotation that we talk about. You know where that actually occurs? It occurs in the Mahabharata's Anushasana Parva. Ahimsa paramo dharma, tatha himsa paro dhamma, ahimsa paramam dhanam, ahimsa paramam tapah. So basically, this occurs in the context of prevention of cruelty on animals. Even in Krishi Parashara, Parashara Maharshi says, Swaha Pidarjitam Sasyam, Phalitam Cha Chaturgunam, Vahani Cha Swasa Vatena, Cha Tadrutam Cha Vinashyati. And he talks about how even if you get a lot of crop yield by causing hardship to animals, it will all be lost because you are not you have mistreated the animals. Kautilya in Arthashastra prescribes various measures to protect animals, both wild and domestic. So the whole idea of hunting the animals for fun is a colonial disease that we inherited, and it was never killing animals for the sake of entertainment was strictly forbidden. In fact, even in place like Bengal, where fish is very, very famous and part of the regular diet, there are times in a year when it is strictly forbidden to eat fish. Primarily, these are the times when the fish spawn in rivers and various water bodies. So the whole idea is to preserve that kind of a natural ecological cycles and balances. And strict punishments were given out to those who causes intentional animal harm to any animals. So you can see how when we talk about this kind of a agriculture system, I had talked about agriculture, domestication, weather. We had talked about the ethical treatment of animals. All of these things are coming from multiple dimensions. And you will see all of these things occur in agricultural texts or in Arthashastra or places where all of these things are discussed together. So what this basically is telling you is that this is a multidisciplinary, holistic approach that is grounded in reality. That is what Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is. This is just one example I've given, and it has a hoary tradition of rigorous inquiry. And this is essentially what makes this Jnana, Vijnana, and the Jivana Darshana, that triad, unique. And then the Drishti, Parampara, and Laukika Prayojana, as it manifests in various disciplines, something that is very important. So if you look at, if you want to now say, okay, what are the sources of IKS knowledge? Where do we find it? So you can classify them as literary and non-literary thing based on Professor Mahadevanji's book, very famous book. I would highly recommend all of you to really go through this book. It's available from Prentice Hall of India. It's called Introduction to Indian Knowledge Systems, Concepts and Applications. Wonderful book by Professor Mahadevanji, Vinayak Rajat Bhattji, and Nagendra Pavanaji. And this is essentially talks about the 14 Vidyasthanas, various applications, both the all the dharmic traditions, Buddha, Jaina, Sanatana Dharma, all of these, and then various oral traditions. All of these things are included. These are all sources of knowledge, both literary and non-literary. Now, if you talk about literary sources or textual sources, we can think about primary sources, which are in basically in the various Bharatiya Bhashas, and translated primary sources, which are translated from the original primary source to another Bharatiya Bhasha, or it could be translated into English. For example, Sanskrit text could be translated into Hindi or into English, or a Tamil text could be translated into Hindi, or it could be translated into Sanskrit, or it could be translated into English. So there are many possibilities. And somebody might have written a commentary on it or some kind of additional work that is called as a secondary source. And then, of course, there can be manuscripts, books, research papers, monographs, all of these things. And then even primary sources, there are various forms of it. Sutra text, which is a aphoristic treatise, very short, condensed form. A bhashya, a commentary on the Sutra text. Vartika, a text of revisions and a rejoinder. Karika is a technical treatise, versified technical treatise for doing calculations. Vyakhya is like a glossary, gloss. So there are many types of texts that are available. So we have to be sure about what is the text that we are dealing with so that we actually can benefit from it in a proper way. Now, how do we identify the original authentic source? You identify, first of all, identify primary source. Consult an expert and identify multiple secondary sources like peer-reviewed literature, bhashyas, vartikas, karikas, tika, all of these things, commentaries, translations, and then evidence from multiple independent sources. So this, essentially, if you do these steps, you'll be able to identify a text or some kind of a source of knowledge, and then you'll be able to say that, oh yeah, it does really occur in that text. And just to show you what is such kind of a parampara that I was talking about, that jnana parampara, as you know, as we discussed earlier, agriculture in India dates at least back to 10,000 years before present. And there was an accelerated phase of development in agriculture from 800 BCE. And if you look at the text, the very first text that comes out is Krishi Parashara, tentatively dated at 400 BCE. It could be much earlier than that as well. Kashyapiya Krishi Sukti, we can date it pretty well. That is around 800 CE. In between, there is Varahamihira's Brihat Samhita. And following Kashyapiya Krishi Sukti is Vrikshayurveda of Surapala in 10th century, and Manasolas in 12th century. There is Vishwavallabha in 16th century, Nuskadar Fanni Falahat, a Farsi text in 17th century, and so Krishi Gita in Malayalam in 18th century, so on and so forth. All of these texts discuss agricultural operations like plowing, furrowing, seeding, all of these things. And then they also talk about how basically you have to weed, harvest, how can you classify crops, soil, everything, which really shows you an advanced system of agriculture in the society with high level of expertise. This kind of a textual tradition is what makes Krishi as a Shastra, all right? That it's codified knowledge. So you can see all of these things, very, very many books. So this is the kind of knowledge tradition that you want to look at. I just gave you an example of agriculture. Similarly, you'll find it in basically your Ayurveda. It's there in many other disciplines, whichever discipline you think. Logic, and if you want to look into that part, Nyaya, there is an entire textual tradition. If you want to look into aesthetics, there are a lot of traditions starting from Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra. I mean, you pick up any discipline and there are lots of text, lots and lots of text, and multiple times you'll find that it does not correspond to a particular discipline of the modern classification, because inherently IKS is multidisciplinary. So what IKS division has done is we have created these 16 categories where you actually can map modern disciplines into the traditional disciplines and traditional disciplines into one of the 16 categories. So you'll be able to find those texts very easily. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about the Indian Knowledge Systems Division of the Ministry of Education, Government of India. So this is our motto to basically mainstream the Indian knowledge systems and to rejuvenate and mainstream Indian knowledge systems for the contemporary world. Our objective is to decolonize Indian mind by generating interest and healthy critical reverence for unbroken knowledge traditions of Bharata for the welfare of the world. And these are the interventions that we do at various levels: school, higher education, research level, and then at an institutional level and at a societal level. You can see there are many initiatives that we do. I will request you all to please go to our website, iksindia.org, to understand more of these initiatives that we have. And these are some of the initiatives that we have taken, and this is the impact that we have. More than 90 centers, 110 research projects, 6,800 internships, 80 plus FDPs, 50 plus courses, 100 plus scholarly publications, 2,500 plus books, wiki platform. I mean, so many things, and more than 1 million people that we have reached in the last 3-4 years. And You can basically find how can you engage with the IKS division. You can find a lot of resources, access to course materials, including course outlines, lecture recordings, lecture notes. There are more than 400 hours of lecture recordings available on the IKS division website, including lecture notes, and then course outlines for more than 45 courses that are being taught in various premier institutions across the country, along with the course syllabus, course outlines, reference materials under the PIs who have taught them, and access to authentic resource materials on our website. Please go there and then download these and use them as you feel fit. And then you can also engage with us through our email lists and then online talks. And we also conduct faculty development programs in collaboration with UGC. So there's a lot of that effort going on. This year, we are planning to train 10,000 people, and a lot of those things are coming in action right now. And so our whole idea is to expand this network of genuine scholars and then empower teachers to become acharyas. हम शिक्षक को आचार्य बनाना चाहते हैं. और how can you contribute in particular? You can study the foundational materials in your discipline in IKS. Please attend faculty training, study the primary and secondary texts, develop expertise in your own area. If you are a chemist, please look into chemistry, Rasayan Shastra. If you are a arts person, look into aesthetics. If you are basically a architecture person, please look into Shilpa Shastra, Vastu Shastra, all of these things. Discuss these things with your colleagues and students. Prepare course materials or at least modules based on the IKS Drishti, and you become ambassadors for the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, or the IKS ambassadors. Because Apastamba Dharma Sutra says, Achinoti cha shastrardhan acharya sthapayatyapi swayamacharate yasmat acharyastena uchyate. The acharya is someone who actually collects all the shastrardhas and then puts into practice in his own self, in his or her own self. And it's only through the practice of the ideals that we are talking about that we become an acharya. And my final takeaway for you will be to understand, study, and add to the traditional wisdom. Understand that when we talk about IKS, it is not history studies or limited to religious studies. What makes IKS unique is the Bharatiya Drishti. IKS is inherently multidisciplinary, holistic in its approach. Therefore, please do look into this. And then with that, I'll stop here and then end with what basically Mahabharata says: be a garland maker, okay? Not like a charcoal burner. And Mahamana's this thing message for all of us. He says, Satyena brahmacharyena vyayamena atha vidyaya deshabhaktyatmatyagena sammanaharah sadabhava. With that, I'll stop here. And then thank you so much for listening to me. And I'll be very happy to take any questions.
बहुत धन्यवाद sir. So for delivering these informative sessions, which is full of examples and case study. So thank you, sir. So I request, sir, please give me 10 minutes to complete the short assessment. Then we can go forward to your question and answer session. Is it okay, sir?
Sure. Yeah,
yes.
Fine.
So all the participants were sharing the assessment link in the chat box. Please complete within 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah, there are only 5 MCQs. It's a short assessment. Please complete, then we will come back to Q&A session.
Hello, sir.
Yes, we have pasted in the chat. Can you see?
Sir,
Please.
but I was not able to go to the chat box because it says the organization members are not of yours, so you cannot join in the chat.
Chat box is open for all. Could you please log out and once again log in?
You can reshare once again, please.
Sorry, ma'am.
Can you reshare once again, please?
Yes. Sure.
Please reshare.
Yes, sure.
না ব্লুটুথ কানেক্ট করতে চাই না তারপর ডিসকানেক্ট করা পুরো মুশকিল just turn off the bluetooth
Yeah, there is it. Thank you.
सर यहाँ फीडबैक लिंक वो अपना असेसमेंट लिंक दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है, मैं बार बार चेक कर रहा हूँ सर। हेलो हेलो
जी बताएं सर।
Yes,
Sir,
I have shared again. Could you please check in your chat box, or otherwise please log out and log in once again.
ओके सर, मैं दोबारा करता हूँ।
Yes.
सर रीज्वाइन किया है, अभी भी दिखा नहीं रहा है चैट बॉक्स में। हेलो हेलो
Yes.
सर मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, I can hear
Piyush,
you.
maybe you will have Piyush, can you just read out this one, the link, because I think people who are not NST members may not be able to see the chat box is what they are saying.
Now,
Chat box.
what should we do, ma'am? So, can we share the link after the session through mail? That would be a good idea, no, ma'am?
Yes, I think that would be a good idea, and you give a time limit. Once you share it in the email, okay, give a time
Yes.
limit and close the link so that people will be
Yes.
able to respond to the queries.
Yes.
No doubt.
So
Time
next time we
limit
can go forward after the session. We can go to question and answer session. Then we'll share the link. That would be
सर यहाँ
okay
किसी
for
ने
all.
लिखा है डन विद एन असेसमेंट और क्विज, थैंक यू, लेकिन हमारे पास तो लिंक ही नहीं आ रहा है सर, कैसे करें हम?
Yeah, Sapal ji, we'll give another session for your group who are not able to complete. Okay, don't
सर
worry.
वो फिर 75% वाला
We'll
भी तो
share
है
through
ना?
mail. After the session, we'll share through mail and we'll give a slot to complete your assessment. Astu?
जी सर जी, कोई बात नहीं है सर।
Okay.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
Let me wait another 5 minutes, then we'll come back to our Q&A session. Namaste. You have another 1 minute to submit. Please submit. Then we'll take some of questions. Okay. Pranam sir, are you there? Can you start? Can we take some questions from the audience?
Yeah, I'm here. So maybe next 5-7 minutes we can take questions.
Yes. Here. Madhumita ji, could you please unmute yourself and ask your question? You can open your video also. It's also possible in Teams.
I think you don't have to say that you have submitted, because those messages in chat box are not required. We already
Yes.
keep track of those things.
Then Ritu ji, could you please ask your question? Let me unmute. No. Then Jyoti ji.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, we do have these courses of IKS at our college. It's Biotechnology Institute, Dr. D.Y. Patil Biotechnology Institute at Pune. And so we generally like to have the courses aligned with biotechnology. So right now we are having one Indian history, history of Indian sciences, wherein we are taking the different scientists, old like gurus, Kanad and all. So beside that, what all we can include as a subject of Indian knowledge system, because somehow it is not technical. So we want to make it more so that student can enjoy it more and they should take interest in the subject more. Uh, so that's what is my
So, I
query.
mean, when you say technical, you can make it as technical as you want. If you
Okay.
want to put it in mathematics and astronomy terms, or Shilpa Shastra, Vastu Shastra, there is enough technology there. And both, if you want equations and things like that, that you'll find in these places. Algorithms, you'll find
Okay.
it there. If you want to find,
Okay.
again, another algorithms place where you can look at algorithms is Pingala's Chanda Shastra. Beautiful this thing. In fact, the last 5 verses there are a brilliant summary of the binomial, basically Boolean algebra, basically what we call as Boolean algebra. It's that it takes the number, converts it into binary equivalent, takes a binary number, and then converts it into regular decimal equivalent, and finds a place. I mean, those algorithms are given there, for example, just to give you a taste of that.
Okay.
If you want something more quantitative, I mean, that's where you need to find. And then if you want to look at something that is qualitative, look into Sahitya Shastra, brilliant way in which things are expounded. So you need to pick the right Shastra and then try to tailor it for the right set of students. So that is an exercise that you will have to do, because that is for every class you'll have to tune it that way.
Yes,
So
sir.
if there are more students who are from science background and mathematics background, these are the topics that you will cover. But then if there are students more from arts and those kind of backgrounds, you may want to emphasize more on the aesthetics and that kind of a thing. For example, if you have computer science students, the Nyaya Shastra has what is known as a Panchavayavaya. So that basically is a 5-step process of proving. So this is a very good example of automatic theorem proving that you can have. So this is a very important and current challenge that you can show.
Yes, sir.
The series, science series, how the science series will basically converge, the speed of the convergence. There are beautiful methods of regarding these science series, faster converging science series from Kerala School of Mathematics. So you can actually talk about that. So there are so many things. And if you want to integrate both the art and the mathematics, look into the designs of the columns. So the rangolis, how is it made? Brilliant ways of doing things. So it's just a matter of, and then if you are from pure biology background and you want on zoology background and you want to talk to biology students or zoology students, take the text called Mrugapakshi Shastra. It's a 16th century text, a 14th century text written by Hamsadeva. Basically, it's encyclopedic work on animals and birds. And then if you look into a text called Hortus Malabaricus, it was basically compiled by a Jesuit priest in 16th century, which is the translation of the Ayurvedic knowledge and the text that was existing in Kerala region into Latin. So that was the foundation of what we call as a Linnaeus classification today.
Acha,
you actually will see you can Google it. You'll find there you'll find the names in Sanskritam. You'll find the name in Malayalam. You'll find the name in Latin. All three languages with the pictures.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the way that we do the herbarium, right? So it's actually something like that. You'll find it's Horticus malabaricus. That's the name.
Horticus malabaricus. Yes, sir.
Malabaricus. See, these are the kind of things that we can bring in, right? So suddenly students will be interested.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Next, Chandanji, Dr. Chandan, are you there? Then,
Sir, hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Very, very nice session, sir. I really appreciate because I am having a very, very less knowledge. I am from management domain, and I have a sir, simple question because mostly management students are interested in very practical things. So I would like to bring in the attention of all the students. How can I bring these IKS very powerfully integrated in all the management lessons, because I used to bring Bhagavad Gita lessons and all, but I think somewhere not able to 100% complete it, so it is quite typical for me. I really want to increase the quality.
Chandana ji, you are facing the same problem that Vishnu Sharma faced. So what did Vishnu Sharma do? He told stories, 84 stories that were there in Panchatantra.
Yes,
so you should actually tell Panchatantra stories. In fact, I would encourage you to take a look at our some of our lectures by Professor Bharat Dash and Dr. Vinayak Rajat Bhatt. They are there on our website. Please go and take a look at them.
He brilliantly. Please request the names again.
Bharat Dash, Bharat, B-H-A-R-A-T, Bharat, D-A-S-H, Dash, Bharat Dash, and Vinayak Rajat Bhatt. Same Bhatt as he's the second author of that Indian Knowledge Systems book that I was talking about earlier.
Yes, sir.
So
sure.
They both brilliantly bring these studies and stories through stories. So for example, Vinayak Rajat Bhattji will talk about something in Arthashastra, concept in Arthashastra, maybe something about Sandhi and Vigraha. Then suddenly Bharat Dasji will talk about how Panchatantra has a story related to this, and then talk about some story regarding bulls, lions, and foxes. So then suddenly you will realize Panchatantra, if you realize, was not cock and bull stories told in the past time. They were told to four princes who were not interested in lectures. They were interested in stories. So Vishnu Sharma, I would highly recommend, because you are from management background, I will recommend you to do one thing, please. take a very good English translation of Panchatantra. You may not know Sanskritam, you may or may not know Sanskritam, that's fine. Or if your whatever your Matrabhasha is, if it is Hindi, even better. So take a good translation of Panchatantra in Hindi or in English. Then read the first chapter of what the Panchatantra is about. You will see that the king is very distressed that 4 of his sons are not interested in any of these things. They're not bad people. They're not interested in lectures. They're very good kids. They're intelligent kids, but they don't want to listen to this lecturing and all that. So he says, what do I do with these boys? So then he says, I will give half the kingdom and all that. I will not spoil the things for you. You please go and read it. It's a brilliant way in which an academic scholar, 84-year-old Vishnu Sharma, comes and then says, I may not live for long. Even you may think that you have time, 2-3 years. I don't have that much time. I have only 6 months. I'll change these boys in such a way that even Indra, if he comes, he will not be able to defeat these boys. And then he tells them stories, 84 stories of strategic statecraft, politics, the way that it has to be statecraft has to be conducted. That entire Niti Shastra has been condensed into these 84 things of how you manage. How do you manage? How do you delegate? How do you manage your juniors? How do you manage with opponents? What is your market strategy? All of those lessons are there in this. So please take a look.
Sir,
And
any
students will love
particular
it.
book also that you will recommend?
So you please go to that lectures. Bharatbhai
Okay.
mentions a book. So I would leave that to you as a homework.
Sir, are these on YouTube or?
They're on our website. You'll find the links to all of them.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you
And you
so
can
much, sir.
talk to Piyush later. He will be providing you the links.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Namaste.
So I want to know any books that are available regarding microorganisms, old books,
What old books?
like ancient books, our IKS books regarding microorganisms.
Microorganisms. So
Yes.
there is not
Like
much of.
bacteria, virus.
No, I have not seen any of those. There is only indirect inferences because the first observations of the microorganisms directly with our naked eyes was only possible after the invention of the microscope. Before that, it was only indirectly inferred. So I don't see any of these things except there are some stories where you can see that they are referring to some kind of invisible organisms that cause disease and things like that. For example, there is a story in Yoga Vasishtha about, I'm forgetting the name of that Rakshasi. They talk about her as a Rakshasi and all that. So it's very similar to smallpox. So
Okay. Yoga Vasishtha. Okay, sir. I'll
in
look
Yoga
into it.
Vasishtha, but then there is no direct evidence anywhere. It's only
No,
indirect
indirect evidence is
inferences.
fine because at that time no instruments were there. They cannot see this
Exactly. So that's why
microorganisms.
I was saying there is only indirect inference. There's no direct observation-based things that you'll find in any of the traditional texts.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
At least to the best of my knowledge. There might be something that I don't know, and there will be many things I don't know.
If I want to search, there is a website where I can search for these things.
No, you'll have to go. No, that's not so easy. If it was there on the websites, at least who would have a good idea? It's not there.
Okay. Okay, sir.
You'll have to go
Okay.
to the primary text and then do that kind of a search.
Oh. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Myself, Dr. Ashwini.
Namaste,
I am, sir, I am belonging to Ayurveda fraternity. So I would just like to add something to that, sir.
Please do. Please do.
Yes, sir. In Ayurveda, Graha Chikitsa is there. Graha Chikitsa branch. So there in Kashyapa Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, there we can find the description, but actually they have not mentioned like that, but the symptoms will be similar. So whatever nowadays we are seeing, so they have been mentioned as Aupasargika Rogas, etc. So there we can see that there might be indication that some microorganisms might be responsible for that, like that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was trying to say, that there is only indirect inferences that you can make, but no direct observations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very illuminating lecture, sir. Very happy to attend, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, namaskar.
So we'll take one last question and then stop there after that.
Yes, yes.
बहुत
Ritu ji,
अच्छा लगता है सभा सब ये, और हमने बहुत सारी चीज़ों को इसमें जाना। भारतीय ज्ञान परंपराओं में विशेषकर हम सब ये जाना थोड़ा सा
hello,
है कि इसमें अर्थशास्त्र से संबंधित और
hello,
एस्ट्रोनॉमी से
or
संबंधित
Rajdeep ji.
आवाज आ रही है सर?
Good evening,
Yes,
sir.
yes, please.
अगर इससे
It's
संबंधित
me,
ज्ञान
Rajdeep
के
Singh.
बारे में
I am
अगर
from
थोड़ा
Khalsa College,
अपने
Patiala, Punjab, sir.
प्रेजेंटेशन में आप
Namaste,
Sir,
namaste, Rajiv ji.
you were demonstrating in your lecture that a slide was there, sir. I have 2-3 questions. Number one
Please.
is the James Mill slide. It was showing that history of British India we were taught, for the 6 volumes.
James
So,
Stuart
sir,
Mills, yes.
so in such a huge country, so we have such a rich heritage. How come this is possible that our historians have allowed such a book to be taught to our
It's a
students?
disgrace. और क्या बताएंगे राजदीप जी? It's a disgrace.
I'm so, sir, I'm thankful to you that in your slide I have seen something. My father is a history professor, and I have got something in evening to discuss with him.
Yes,
That have you
please
ever
do.
heard about this thing? This is very bad. I'm very much thankful to you, and I will tell my students also that this is a narrative, I think, which are being that especially that
It is
picture of the
currently a
mandir.
reference book in many universities. Can you imagine
And-
reference text?
And especially the slides Onam, I was such amazed that why are you showing them? Then you showed that the girls are standing over there, they are dancing, and so this is something which we call that narrative building of our country, which are being built by the foreign travelers, and the people of the world have a picture of that.
Yeah.
That is something, sir, very good. And one more thing, sir. There was one slide that you were showing with the literary and the non-literary, and it was a table
Yes.
like, huh? So I am from Khalsa College, Patiala. I belong to college which is run by Shromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, Sri Amritsar. I want to just have an idea that when we teach something that can it be added that under other dharmic traditions, there is a slide, there is a box. It has Buddhist and Jain. Can the Sikh literature? Sikh literature can be added over there, sir.
Arey, yes.
Sir,
Waheguru
there
ji
are
ne
many
Khalsa,
traditions.
Waheguru ji ne
There are
Fateh.
many traditions, sir. Like Kirt
Yes.
Karo, sir, and Naam Japu, Vand Shaku, and
Yeah.
Martyrdom, sir. जो शहीदी की परंपरा है, सर, गुरु तेग बहादुर साहब का 350 साल का अभी गया है, तो ये भारत में ही है, सर. तो
भारत का
I
ही है,
think
सिख हमारे ही अपने ही है.
हमारी धरती
वो
पे
छूट
हुआ है
गई
सारा
थी,
कुछ.
वो मैं नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में ऐड कर दूंगा नेक्स्ट बार. Thank you
Please, sir.
for
Please,
pointing
sir.
it out.
So as the wars we discuss every time in the movies also, this martyrdom, the शहीदी की परंपरा जो है, सर, वो इसी धरती पे पाई जाती है, सर. अपने देश के लिए शहीद होना. This is something for irrespective of the religion. It is under the Sikhism traditions and creation of Khalsa month and Naam Japna. Meditation is also part of that. So
Yes.
I just request you to please add, sir. Thank you, sir.
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you, sir. Your lecture was so good, sir. Please share PPT or PDF, sir. Please.
Will do.
Thank you, sir.
I think we'll stop there.
Pranam, sir. Pranamah, sir. Pranamah to everyone. So we will close with Shanti Mantra. If you have any questions, please write to us. We will discuss and solve your doubts and questions in our interactive sessions. So please write to us, and after the session, we will share the recording and PPT through mail. Astu? Om सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Astu, Pranamah everyone. See you tomorrow.
जी, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes.
धन्यवाद.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, Pranamah. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Deepak ji, please stop the recording.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.